I was watching my sawmill guy today.
Your sawmill guy?
Yeah. This guy that runs a sawmill in Tennessee. Big old beard and short hair. Y'all, I went and got a haircut last week. I'm not mocking you, Jerry, I promise. I went and got a haircut a couple of days ago, and, my barber does something all barbers need to do. He's got this app, and I get to I'll go on there and make my appointment for my haircut. I can't tell you how many hours in my life I've wasted sitting in a barbershop chair waiting to get a haircut. Now the way I do it, I got to schedule it a week in advance, but I'd much rather do that than go in there and sit there for hours and hours waiting to get a haircut. That's a direct quote, by the way.
I have to say your Southern accent is pretty spot on.
Oh, well, thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that.
Mine's pretty good too, if that's me. How you doing, son?
Hey everybody, how y'all doing tonight?
Woo! I am feeling good tonight.
Are you feeling good tonight?
I just said I am.
What are you feeling good about?
Life. Life is wonderful. I have a wonderful partner. I have a wonderful dog. I had a shit job, but otherwise life is great.
That is hysterical. I have a wonderful life. I have a wonderful dog.
You can't claim my dog too.
Oh.
Yeah, we're not sharing Annie. I heard a song the other day that I've heard forever and had no idea what the words were he was using until I happened to glance over and see on the screen on the car the name of the name of the song. It was like Jet Airliner. I had no idea he was saying Jet Airliner in that song.
Yeah, what'd you think he was saying?
Gibberish.
Oh. No, it's Jet Airliner.
I get it now. I can hear it now, but before I had no idea.
Oh, well, welcome to 1964.
I was a week ago this old when I realized what he was saying.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Figured you'd like that.
So,
Mr. Jet Airliner.
So, have y'all been enjoying the weather?
It was nice today.
Yeah.
Today was beautiful.
It's going to change tomorrow.
Is it?
Thanks.
Yeah, for like the next 4 days, it's supposed to rain.
Yeah.
Really? What time tomorrow?
I think tomorrow's only like a 30% chance. Thursday and Friday is the worst.
It actually comes in tonight at about 8 o'clock, and then it dies off in the morning and picks up in the afternoon again.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So depending on what your activities look like for tomorrow, they may or may not be happening.
My activities are going to happen tomorrow.
Okay.
Regardless. Rain or shine, sleet,
Well,
snow.
You had an interesting day today.
I had a very interesting day today.
Tell us a little about it.
Not really. I got to drive a truck up to Medina, where Panther is headquartered. We had a truck that has a QC or Omnitrax or Qualcomm, call it what you will, in it because the team that was in it before was running government freight and had to have a QC. We don't have a team slated for that truck right now that has government clearance. So I took it up to Medina and had them take the QC out and put in the Samsara system that Panther uses for all their ELD stuff. So just a couple-hour drive north. Got to stop in and say hello to people that see me at Panther all the time and are like, wow, you're doing big things now. No, I'm not. I'm just doing me. So that was my day. I drove up to Panther, hung out there for a couple hours while I did the swap, talked to a couple drivers about various and sundry things, and made my way back. And by the time I got back, it was time to start wrapping it up.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, those days out, like when you got to run out to Fort Wayne or run out to Medina is what they call them. Medina, okay.
Yeah.
Then it's it always makes for such a short work day because you only get a couple hours in because you actually are driving 2 hours up, 2 hours back.
It actually, for me, it's a short work day, but it's condensed because on the way up, I'm on the phone.
Yes.
When I get there, my 2 hours there is spent responding to email of things that happened while I was driving.
Yeah.
Talking to shops, talking to teams. I did talk to a team today as well. But yeah, it ends up being that everything is okay right now, and people want to talk because they see your name up there. I want to know what you're doing and why everybody knows you there. Everybody comes through the lobby there at Panthers. Oh, hey, Vince, how you doing?
Yeah.
They're like, why do they know you?
Yeah.
Why are people coming out here and actually stopping to talk to you and then going back to work? Because they sometimes do. They come out, they hear them there and come out, or they hear Melissa's there, they hear Annie's there, and they come out and just
I hear
chit chat.
I hear Andy gets the biggest fan base.
Oh my goodness, everyone loves Annie there, and when I go, they want to know why isn't Annie here with you?
Yeah.
And I can't take Annie in a brand new truck or in a clean truck, and plus she just gets stressed out in the trucks. It's not worth it for her to go up there.
Yeah. Well, you had a routine, right, when y'all were driving a truck, and she understood the routine, and
She did.
the routine's changed. It's not that routine
It
anymore.
was completely different. Now it's not that same routine, and she just hates it. So we don't take her in the truck.
Yeah.
She loves the car. Put her in the car, she's happy as can be.
Really?
Put her in a truck, and she wants to hide.
Maybe she's afraid of heights.
Could be. She's a little dog, but, she can't see outside the truck to know how high she is.
Oh, that's true.
I was driving a Western Star a couple days ago,
Yeah.
and it had in the passenger seat the little dog view door. And I thought to myself, I said, I wonder what Annie would have done with that kind of door. She'd actually enjoyed looking out and seeing outside. But she's not the kind of dog that'll sit in the passenger seat and look out the window.
Yeah.
She just didn't.
Huh.
So
That's my favorite thing to do. Maybe I'm just old enough to have taken road trips as a kid or as a child, and there was nothing to do.
sure.
It really was like read a book or look out the window or listen to music while you're reading a book,
Right.
glaring out the window.
Yeah. I would really like driving around counting the corn stalks as we passed them. That was so much fun.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wait, did you play the license plate game?
I didn't as a kid.
Oh,
Melissa taught me that as an adult.
Yeah.
I didn't play the license plate game. We played, there was a game we played in the car. I can't think of what it is now. Sorry.
I Spy?
Drew a blank. No, it wasn't. We looked at license plates for different states, but we didn't do the math thing. I'm assuming you're talking about the math thing in the license plate game?
No, we did the different states. What's the math thing?
Where you add up the numbers of a license plate?
No, I'm from South Louisiana. That sounds way too technical for me. I was like, ooh, look, New Jersey.
Yeah, we did that, but we didn't. Melissa taught me to do the math on them. I've never been a fast mather.
What do you do with the letters?
Ignore
1 through
them.
26?
You ignore the letters. You just do the numbers.
Why would you add them up?
To see who was fastest at the math.
What?
Yeah. That game lasted all of 2 road trips. Because she would kick my tail every time.
But why? Anyways, so I remember
Moving right along.
I remember one time we went up to from Louisiana up to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and went to Lookout Mountain, Ruby Falls, Rock City, and did the incline railway and everything. If you haven't done it, go do it. It's fun. They actually Chattanooga has got a railroad. It's called the Chattanooga Railroad. Actually, I think it's a hotel, isn't it? None of you people know?
I've heard the song.
If you've heard of the Chattanooga Railroad and it's a hotel, let us know in the comments. But it's I've never done the Chattanooga Railroad, so I don't know if it's a railroad actually or if it's a hotel. I think it's a hotel though. But or is it Chattanooga Choo Choo? Oh, I'm getting this all messed up. Y'all, you're probably on the other end of this recording just pulling your hair out, just like, oh, what does he know? He's crazy. So we'll talk about something I do know about. They have a wonderful aquarium over there. It's 2 buildings side by side. It's really cool. And the very top of one of the buildings, and it's like 10 floors high or something like that. It's a pretty big building. And on the top, it's a butterfly garden with like a botanical garden with butterflies and everything on one side. On the other building, it's a swamp, like a swamp ecosystem with alligators and all that stuff.
Right.
But as you start from the top and then you walk your way in a circle down the building, and as you go down the building, you see the different layers of that same ecosystem. So it's one big tank.
Right. Interesting.
But like you see where the garfish are, you see where the bass fish are, you see where the malaria is, you see all those little things, and it's really it's very impressive. I've been to a lot of aquariums, a lot of zoos, because when you're out on the road, there ain't sometimes you're just looking for stuff to do, especially if it's wintertime. You're like, what can I do to stay warm?
Right. Stay inside. Get out of the truck. Stay inside.
Absolutely, because
Stay warm.
you don't want to be walking around outside in the middle of freezing cold wind, right?
No.
That would be
No,
terrible.
that'd be horrible.
Can you imagine?
If I hadn't just lived it.
Well, we'll get to that. So
Speaking of butterflies in the conservatory,
you see,
I saw a headline the other day that here in Columbus, the conservatory, the butterflies are back. We should share that with Eric.
the butterflies are back in
Butterflies
town.
are back in town. Yeah.
Where'd they go?
They migrate.
Did you say they cartilage?
I was gonna say they carbonate.
Carbonate.
Yeah, they carbonate for the weekend.
I don't know about the butterflies. I saw a lot of caterpillars though.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Very interesting. So so anyways, we did this trip up to Chattanooga, and I remember as a kid going to the gift shop.
A gift shop.
And getting they had like crossword puzzle books and stuff like that for your drive, for your travels.
Yeah.
And we got a game that was like a bingo game, but it was just all the random stuff you'd see on the road. So it'd be like you swipe over, you saw a barn, or if you saw a silo.
Okay.
And my sister, I don't think this really was a rule, but my sister made a rule that if you saw it and called it, the other person couldn't use it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. So we were playing Cutthroat. So if you were looking for a Volkswagen Beetle and one drove by and you called it, the other person had to wait for another Volkswagen Beetle to come by.
Wow.
So that would keep us entertained for hours.
That is cutthroat.
And now I hear they have televisions in the back of their vehicles.
DVD players, satellite
communications.
We used to play Mad Libs on road trips.
Yes.
Mad Libs. And then we had the word search games where you do the bubble around the word.
Oh, yeah.
All kinds of fun little
tons of
books
those.
and toys to play with.
Do you
It
remember?
was great if you got car sick. You could just puke all over it and not do it anymore.
Do you remember having to stop along the way at a payphone to let someone at home know your progress? I remember doing that quite a few times.
Yeah.
Where it was like, hey, we're at the Shell station in Fort Payne, Alabama, just letting you know we made it this far. We'll call you in 2 hours.
If you don't hear
whatever.
from us, you know where our last place we stopped was.
Yeah, and 2 hours was 100 miles away because the speed limit was 55. And gas was a nickel,
It was a little more than a nickel.
10 cents.
It was over $1 when you were
No.
at that age of driving.
No, I remember under $1.
Oh, in LA it was over $1 at that
Oh,
point.
yeah, I grew up in South Louisiana, as
That's
we've
right.
already
I keep
discussed.
forgetting that.
Yeah.
Keep forgetting that. Privileged.
We had that cheap gasoline.
Yes. Literally.
Literally, yeah. It's great stuff. Great stuff.
Fresh out the Gulf.
Fresh. What are they using in the Gulf? It was like we get your Gulf seafood and your Gulf
And your
oil.
oil. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a wonderful, wonderful ecosystem. Gasoline and shrimp.
And you could fry your shrimp in the...
The gasoline? I don't think so.
Well, no, in
No,
the oil
that's more
was
of a
left
flambe.
over was left over from the refining of the gasoline. Got to do something with that.
They do. They sell it to L'Oreal and they make cosmetics
There you
out
go.
of it.
Yeah. CoverGirl.
Yeah. You ever look at what a? You ever look at like how they take a barrel of oil and where they break it down, where everything goes?
No, I don't want to know.
Oh, they use every
I believe it.
stinking bit of it.
I believe it.
There's no waste. It's like, of all the wasteful spending and all the byproducts and all this stuff that are trash, big oil, they figured a way to milk every penny out of that thing.
And they're doing that with diesel. Diesel was a byproduct of gasoline,
Yes.
and now it's cost more than gasoline. So does that mean gasoline's a byproduct of diesel now, financially?
I think it means that big oil got wise to, if we work together, we can charge more. We just can't say we work together
Right.
because the government
That's
will
collusion.
shut us down. And
Yeah.
ain't nobody got time for that. So, but anyways, I remember last thing about the trip. I'm talking Southern now. Last thing about going to Chattanooga. I remember there was one time. So, as all of us, at some point in your childhood, your parents got a new car, most likely, right?
Yeah.
So I remember the old car. The old car was not dependable for long road trips. So I remember Dad renting a car to go up there, up to Chattanooga, and we thought this car was so cool. Do you know why?
It had power windows.
No, the back of the seat had a pocket that you could put like your
Wow.
crossword book or your word
In the
search
pocket?
in the pocket.
Wow.
Oh,
that is fancy.
It was so nice.
Ooh, man.
I looked at a picture of. I was curious. So we had an Oldsmobile Forenza when I was a little kid, and I was like, I vaguely remember it. So let me look online, see if I can find pictures of it, so I can kind of refresh my brain and see if I remember it.
Yep.
Like the one thing I remember is it had two bucket seats up front and a center console, which for a family car was weird because back then it was all benches.
Right. Everything was a bench.
And so I found the pictures of it, and sure enough, there's the little center, thing for the gear shift.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the back seats, and it's funny because as soon as I saw the picture, I remembered it. In the center console, in the back seat, there was an ashtray.
Well, most cars used to have the ashtray in the back seat between the two front seats.
Yeah, that's where this was.
Yeah.
And this behind the center console between the two front
Yeah.
seats. And it just made me think like how absurd that is because now you don't even get a cigarette lighter in your
No,
car.
you don't.
And then I remembered my grandmother, she had a Cadillac Fleetwood.
Okay.
Is it-
Brahms.
Yes.
Broham.
Yeah. Broham with the vinyl top.
Yeah.
And had the blue velour. Do you remember the velour?
Ooh.
Oh, forget leather. We had velour
Yeah.
seats. And
Yeah.
we had the, she had,
Plush.
very plush. Oh, you sit down on them, you sink
Oh, yeah,
6
you do.
inches. It's just
Yeah.
like, woo.
And as a kid, you do like this to change the colors.
Yes. Or you spell your name. So you could do it real easy one way, but then on the other ones, you had to like just barely touch it.
Yes.
Let me get to
Yes.
do the color. But anyways, the on that Cadillac Fleetwood, her cigarette lighter, ashtrays and cigarette lighters, plural, were in the doors. So each backseat door
Had their own.
had their own
Wow.
cigarette lighter and their own ashtray. Oh yeah.
They make it easy for you.
Oh yeah. And that car had a Bose stereo in it, and we were like, what?
Cadillac.
Hello.
Cadillac.
It was so nice. And I remember too, had that big the logo for the Cadillac. You know, the what is that? The two feathers. What do they make? Like a what's that
Like
called?
the wreath, the laurel
Yeah,
wreath
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
Had that stitched into the back of the seats.
As you do.
Super nice.
Yeah.
Super nice.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is your grandmother black?
Not anymore.
Oh, okay. Too much? Too far?
It
that
was
too far?
it was the 90s. I mean, like, Cadillac was what everybody kind of hoped for.
Okay. Well, I mean, there were a lot of Cadillacs in my neighborhood. I grew up in South Los Angeles. It's a nice neighborhood. There were a lot of Cadillacs.
Yeah,
Sevilles.
but hers were on the actual tires and rims it came with.
Oh, okay. All right.
Too far?
It wasn't on spinners.
It wasn't a spinner. No. Floaters. She was trendy. Jerry Bear.
Yes.
Gonna need a little edit there.
It's staying.
Oh, God. Well, now that we're canceled, oh, that's hysterical. That is hysterical. So I was reading Shock of the World. I know you were all dying to hear our takes on it because we've been teasing it out on Facebook this whole week. Knight Swift. I think they're the largest trucking company.
I think they are.
Just
and now they're even larger.
Entered into an agreement to buy US Xpress, another one of the largest trucking companies, for $808 million.
That's going to add something like 700 trailers. I'm sorry, 7,200 tractors. Excuse me.
700 tractors. They're
That's
like,
not very much.
okay,
Yeah.
that's-
7,200 tractors and 14,400 trailers to their already crazy large fleet.
yes.
That's crazy. It's insane.
It's insane. It's like, so, okay. Every trucking, I'm going to call it recession, although this is a mild recession. It's not like 15 or 16 when freight went to nothing.
Right.
It's a mild recession, but every time there's a recession, you always see these big companies get bigger.
Yeah.
They all merge. They all come together. Nobody wants to fight the storm alone, and they're better together than we are apart. And this kind of thing happens, and it's just unbelievable.
But it makes them so much stronger for when the economy comes back.
It does,
Just that much stronger.
but it makes them that much more aggressive.
It does. They can be that much more aggressive. They have the cash to burn.
Yes.
I mean, the article says that Excuse me.
They have $1.3 billion in
cash.
unrestricted cash. I think yeah.
That's insane for any company.
Yeah, it's a lot of
It's
money.
a lot of cash.
It's a lot of cash. And they are assuming $484 million of their outstanding debt, which is most of their like truck purchases, real estate purchases, things like that. They do have around $100 million, $96 million of revolving credit that they're just going to pay off and get rid of. That's like think of it as a credit card, be the easiest way to think about it.
Right.
But $324 million of just cash. They're just forking over $6 a share if you're interested. But yeah. So now with this, they're going to have only $1 billion in cash in the bank.
Only $1 billion of cash in the bank.
I mean, that's hardly enough to do anything, isn't
What
it?
are they going to do? Go out and buy a trailer manufacturer's complete and total output for the next 10 years?
No, you just go buy a trailer manufacturer.
It could. It really could.
I mean,
Why not?
you know, it was so funny. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were talking about building your own boxes and everything. And I'm like, U-Haul and UPS both do this.
Right.
Those brown, not the big ones, but the regular brown UPS trucks you
package
see
vans.
popping, package vans going in and out of your neighborhood. UPS builds their own.
They have the financial wherewithal to do that. They
Yeah.
can build them the way they want them.
They get the chassis from Freightliner or from Ford or Workhorse, and then they build the rest of it. So it's exactly their spec. And then you see U-Haul is same. They do the same thing. U-Haul buys chassis, and then they build their own boxes on the chassis. That's why if you ever wondered why you can't find a U-Haul truck for sale new anywhere,
Right.
it's because they build their own.
build their own.
They build their own trailers. They build their own car haulers. And that made me upset because I really like U-Haul's car trailer. It's a really good design,
It is.
and nobody has it
No, you can't
because
get it.
they're the only ones that make it, and they have the patent on the design.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Can't get it.
So, anyways, back to this. So, it's just crazy. They're going to close late second quarter or early third quarter. So, right around the dead of summer, they're going to close on this deal, and both boards have already approved it. So, there's a little bit of regulatory stuff they got to go through, obviously, because of this. But, yeah. Oh, and I thought this was interesting. So, Knight Swift, they merged. Oh, I should have looked this up a few years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
And they've kept their companies separate from each other.
Right.
And they're doing the same thing with US Xpress. So you're going to have Knight, Swift, and US Xpress all running as different opcos.
Different codes. Yep.
Now, we saw this a couple years ago, too, when Covenant bought Southern Refrigerator, SRT, and they ran those two companies separate for a long time. And I think they've slowly merged SRT over to Covenant.
Didn't Covenant go away a year and a half, 2 years ago? Maybe a few years longer than that? Am I thinking the wrong company?
I think you're thinking of the wrong company. Who are you thinking of? Oh, you're thinking of the one that ended in bankruptcy. That was Celadon.
Celadon, yes. Yes, thank you. I'm
Yep,
sorry.
no
I
worries.
apologize for being incorrect.
Yes,
Again.
Celadon was the one that went into business.
Yes.
And then they ended up having a bunch of their execs get arrested and all kinds of stuff. They were cooking the books, making a nice rice pilaf out of their financials.
Tasty.
Would never recommend that. So here's my concern, or my thoughts, my curiosity. So you've got US Xpress and Swift and Knight. Knight's, if I'm not mistaken, Knight's mostly cold stuff, right? Swift is mostly dry
Mostly
van.
dry.
And US Xpress, I don't think they do LTL, but they do something like similar to that, right? Like, what does US Xpress do?
You know, it's interesting. The article actually didn't go into what type of freight US Xpress hauls. They mentioned that it's not going to affect the LTL initiatives that Swift Knight have in place, but they don't go into what type of freight they haul.
I know they're truckload over the road. I think they do some LTL. I know they're huge in dedicated routes. Like, that's one of their big things they're always asking people for is dedicated routing and or people to come drive their dedicated routes. But I don't know. I would imagine their lanes line up more with Swift than they do with Knight. But I don't think that I don't know if they are direct competitors. If you've driven for both of them or one or the other and you know a little more about this, feel free to
Yeah.
chime in and let us know,
Let us know.
where we're messing up, because it is shocking. I'm pro business, as you can all imagine, but I do get nervous when you see these mega huge carriers getting more mega huge.
It is a little frightening when you see these types of things happening. I mean, you still have the Werners and the Primes out there, and others as well, the mega carriers. But when something like this happens, that's just a huge trucking company.
It is, and people think like, well, okay, bigger company, better scale of economy, things like that. I agree, I get it, but at some point, when you're a big enough company as these people are approaching that size, they can afford to falsely saturate the rates. So in other words, if a lane's running for $2 a mile, they can bid it at $1 a mile.
Oh, sure.
Just to put you out of business.
Yep.
So things like that they can do, and it's legal. I mean, like, there are things you can do like that that's illegal, but in general, this is perfectly legal business. People do it all the time. So it is a little nerve-wracking. It's going to bring $2.2 billion in operating income every single year.
It's a lot of money coming into this company. It's frightening to think about them underbidding to put people out of business, but the way you separate yourself from that, or try to at least, is by providing your customers the best possible service. A little more hand-holding. Yeah, some customers that just don't care. They want their freight to get from point A to point B as cheap as possible. They don't care if you have clean drivers or if you have clean trucks. They just want to get it there. You have other customers that really do appreciate that extra service. And if you can try and separate yourself from the low bidders by providing that service and showing where you add value to their business, you can keep some of that business. But it's hard. It's hard to do.
Absolutely. If anything, I think something like this is a threat to your typical truckload carriers.
Yes.
So if you're working with a small truckload carrier, how do they compete against this? You really have to. These kind of situations make you really have to diversify your income streams.
Right.
And maybe if you are in general truckload, start looking for specialized truckload to be able to grow your business or whatever. So, like, if you are hauling LTL or hauling a truckload like this and you're an owner operator, you got to start considering, should I look at government freight? Should I look at tankers? Should I look at expedite? Should I look at bed bugging, or pulling cars or what have you?
Something different than what these three are doing.
Absolutely. And because, when you see them, they're not going to just grow by the amount that they bought. Because of the economies of scale, they're going to be able to grow exponentially more than what they have. The $2.2 billion of operating income they're expecting, that's the bare minimum. They even say they expect within, I think it's 5 years, that performance levels of truckload business should grow significantly, and it's going to help with them expand and get a larger network across the industry. And you even see where they're talking about it. The US Xpress CEO says the increased scale, operating expertise, resources of the combined entity will allow US Xpress to pursue new levels of service and efficiency. Efficiency means they can run cheaper, which means they will run cheaper.
I'm curious to hear the chatter about this next weekend at Matt's.
I am too.
I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of chatter about it. And I'm curious to see how that goes. One thing I'm really curious about too is driver retention and driver recruiting for this mega carrier. You can have a gazillion trucks, but if you don't have drivers to put in them, how's that work? And I guess at some point, if they are putting companies out of business, or if that comes to fruition, you'll have drivers there to pull from.
Absolutely.
But it's going to be interesting to see how they recruit and maintain and retain drivers.
Well, and from what I understand too, you've got a company like Swift and Knight who they're training truckload companies so they can actually take people fresh out of school,
Sure.
send them with a trainer for a few weeks, and then send them on their own. So that's how they're getting majority of their drivers. Not all, but the majority of them. And then US Xpress kind of has a reputation of being a really good company to drive for. They pay really well. They take care of their equipment. And so they don't have, from what I understand, as high a turnover as maybe a Swift or a Knight does, which would be an incentive to keep it separate. I certainly understand that. But I could see that being a huge incentive for someone like Swift or Knight to pull from, is like, hey, this company has a lot more depth of drivers in it. And I'm sure that was a part of their...
I wonder if Swift Knight uses that as an incentive to recruit drivers. Come work for us, drive for us for a year, 2 years, and we can move you to US Xpress that's running a different type of freight, possibly.
It's possible.
That was offered to me, actually, when I first got into trucking with the company. You ran with them it was as a team for, I forget what the rate was, but it was not great.
Yeah.
And the incentive was run with them for, they were a training company. They put you through school, and once you drove for them for, I want to say it was 18 months, then you were done with your contract. If you stayed with them for 2 years, then they'd move you to their sister company, who they just bought out, who actually ran flatbed as well, and you could make more money running for them. And that was kind of their incentive to bring you in, and to run as a team.
Yeah.
Was they'd move you off into solo after you paid off your contract.
Okay.
Didn't happen for me. It wasn't part of my plan, but just a thought.
Well, it sounds like a note out of the airlines, right? If you want to go fly for an airline as a pilot, you would go fly for a regional. So you'd go fly for like an Envoy or a
Allegiant.
Not quite. I mean, you could.
Spirit.
Yeah.
American Eagle.
Yes, but American Eagle actually is not American Eagle. That's a fake company.
Interesting.
But like you have your Envoy Air actually does most of American Eagle stuff. And then you've got, why are they all escaping my brain?
I don't know.
Republic Airlines is a huge one.
All
They're
right.
probably the largest one. And then you've got SkyWest. And those are kind of your very large regionals. So they'll bring people in, you get your training, you get your minimum hours in, then you go fly with them. You go do a few years with them learning how to fly in the commercial network. And once you've learned to fly in the commercial network, then Delta hires you. Then American Airlines hires you. Then United Airlines hires you. Then FedEx or UPS might take you, or DHL or someone. They want, it's just a place to cut your teeth. You don't go to those places to retire. You go to those places to step up. So it sounds like the trucking companies are taking kind of the same model of come over here, run for us for a little bit, and then we have these more lucrative or better divisions where you got to have a little more time on you to be able to run. So I get it. It makes sense, but it does make you wonder, why not just offer that to your existing people? I understand in this environment, it's hard to get trailers, it's hard to get trucks, it's hard to get a very large driver pool. So you buy a trucking company as successful as US Xpress, you get all of that at once. So I do understand that idea behind it, but why not just do better for yourself? I mean, the best thing I think Swift has going for it is their lease operator program, and even at that, it's kind of known for being terrible.
Yeah, it is known for being terrible. And the training schools, the training companies that bring you in, train you to get to have your CDL, they have a reputation too. And I'm not speaking specifically of Swift Knight, just in general. So I don't know what I'm talking about. They bring in drivers, they train them, they pay them lower wages than other places because they have you by the short and hairies.
Yeah.
Because you owe them so many miles or so many years or whatever the time is that you've signed this contract for, so they can afford to pay you that. And one of the things that they're doing is, if they're paying less to their drivers, they can get freight for less.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same model Walmart uses in their stores. You know, they're fighting with their suppliers to buy product as cheaply as possible, to pass it on as cheaply as possible, but they're also going away from full service registers. So they're trying to cut costs across the board everywhere to get your business.
Yeah.
And that's where they make their money. So it's not. It's the same thing with I think some of these training carriers is they're cutting costs wherever they can so they can make their money. Not saying they're not safe. I'm not saying they're not being fair. It's their model. It's their business model.
Well, and I think, yeah, I don't want anything to be misconstrued as us saying they're not safe. I think the running joke is, with a Swift truck, you always see them in a wreck or on the side of the road, not broke down, but like they just ripped up a gutter or something.
Right.
Not a gutter, what's that metal thing on the side of the road?
A
guardrail. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah.
But it's not that it's happening at such a high frequency. It's just that they're so big.
They're so big.
They're so big that they are.
If you look at the numbers, percentage wise, Swift has such a low percentage of accidents. A low percentage. You can look at their CSA score.
Yes.
I forget the website. FMCSA has a website you can go to and look at this for companies. The percentages are so very low because they are so large.
Yeah.
And people, again, you see them on the side of the road. People joke about them all the time, but
yeah, it's just massive. It's what you do when you have this giant scale. I mean, we always talk about too. Every time you see in the winter, every winter, it just happened a couple days ago. There's always these massive 40, 50, 100 car pileups.
Sure.
Every time you do, there's always a FedEx truck. Every single time, there's always a FedEx truck in there, and it's just, which one is it going to be? Is it Express, Ground, Custom, Critical, Freight? Who is it? Someone's in there, and it's not that the drivers were at fault. It's that the company's huge.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. There's just so many trucks running the road that you're eventually going to have that happen. And at some point, I know what ArcBest and Panther, what they're trying to do, they'll be in that same boat. They're not yet, but they will be.
They will be.
Covenant's not in that same boat. The reason people forget Covenant is even a thing is because they have a very specific market they run. And like up here in the Columbus area, we don't see them.
No,
they're not hardly ever. They're hardly ever here. But they are a very, very, very large company. They're just not in our area, but Swift and FedEx, everywhere,
all over the place.
I feel like it used to be that way with JB Hunt and Snyder too, but I don't see them like I used to. I think they've mostly moved to intermodal, and so a lot of their stuff I think they're moving is mostly on trains and not so much over the roads.
I think Snyder was more visible when they had the big orange trailers.
Yes.
And tractors. And they've gone away from that. I see Snyder around more than I see JB Hunt, it seems like. And I see JB Hunt more the trailers on owner-operator tractors than anything else.
Yeah. Maybe it's just a different model they're going for. Or I know JB Hunt got really big into the final mile delivery for a while. I don't know if they're still playing in that market or not, but that was the last time I remember seeing them largely. But it's been interesting. So I am not optimistic and not thrilled about this buyout, but I get it. I'm wondering what the repercussions are going to be for the owner operators.
It's going to hurt the little guys. It definitely is going to hurt the little guys. Little guys can't compete with the negotiating power of a company with tens of thousands of tractors.
Yeah.
They just can't.
Yeah.
I mean, what are fuel discounts like for Swift?
Insane.
They're crazy because they have so many tractors. They're running so many miles.
Yeah, they're buying so
owner
much
operator
diesel.
With one tractor, let's call it 5 tractors.
Yeah.
Aren't buying anywhere near the quantity. It's dropping the bucket for the big truck stops.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be tough.
Well, I do know too from people that have owned their own truck and leased them onto Swift or Knight over the years. Their fuel discounts are decent, but they're marked up. So their own fuel discounts are so good that they're marking the fuel up to their owner operators, and their owner operators are happy because it's still
a good discount.
Yeah, that's how much cash they're putting in the bank. That's why you have $1.5 billion of cash in the bank.
They're not stupid.
They're not stupid. It's going to hurt the owner operators, and it's every time this happens, it's just a thing, unfortunately.
Again, curious to hear the conversations taking place at Matt's next weekend.
Yes.
Which we're going to be at.
We are going to be at Matt's next weekend. We are going to be there at the Kentucky Expo Center in Louisville, Kentucky. We're going to be there with Panther Premium Logistics. We'll be hanging out in their booth with Expediter Services. We'll also be there. talking about tractors. We'll be talking about straight trucks. Be having a good time. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be in the West Wing, right outside of Biden's office, I believe.
Yeah, that's where I requested my seat.
Yes,
Yeah.
excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
So there'll be a little Secret Service to get through. No worries.
No worries.
But
Just tell them you know Chili, and they'll look at me, and I'll wave you in or send you away.
excellent.
Yeah. I'm
Excellent.
going to be the gatekeeper.
The-
I mean, besides Secret Service,
Who's the keymaster?
I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. Annie?
Jerry?
Jerry
You
could
the
be the
keymaster?
keymaster.
Do you want to be the keymaster?
I thought that was.
So for the people listening that don't know, he just pointed off. He just he just pointed off the camera to. Was that Melissa?
Yes.
Oh, okay. To Mr. Chili's wonderful better half.
Sorry, it's still the YouTube brain.
That's okay.
It's all
It's
good.
all right.
It's all right. We don't,
It's all
you know,
right. Yeah, no judgment.
no judgment. A little judgment.
I thought he was taking a nap.
He did kind of look like he was.
Like we
That's why.
surprised him.
That's why I pulled him in. I was like, be snoring on my microphone. Okay, so Mid America Truck Show, Kentucky Expo Center, Louisville, Kentucky. We'll be at the Panther booth in the West Wing, March 30th through April 1st, 2023. Jump online, register at truckingshow.com. Truckingshow.com. You can also find directions to the free parking for 18-wheelers and straight trucks, which is going to be at the Cardinal Stadium.
Yeah.
And they'll have shuttles getting you back and forth in the convention center. I've parked there before. It's great. TA is going to be out there with some free showers, and
They're actually going to be doing like events and demonstrations in that lot as well.
yes,
I didn't realize that.
yeah, it's a big it's a big thing. It's
is.
a fun party.
Yeah.
Go for it. It's a blast. If you want to park at the actual show, it's like $30 a night or something. It's kind of expensive, but again, there's nothing wrong with staying at the stadium. They do make it very fun. You'll be interacting with a bunch of people if you want. It's a good time. A lot of barbecues happening in the parking lot. People randomly bringing out their dojos and guitars and things of that nature, and grand pianos. You know how it is. Whatever you keep on the
Whatever you
truck.
have on the truck with you. Bring it out,
And
play it. Get a little
yeah.
jam session going on.
Absolutely. It's a fun time. Like I said, I've been there a bunch of times before. Looking forward to this time. We'll be staying at the fabulous Red Roof Inn.
I like it.
Yes,
It is fabulous.
It is fabulous.
You know what color their roof is there?
It's gray.
It is
They
gray,
really
which is
need,
very
they
strange.
need to work on that.
Very strange.
I mean, they used to be red, but
I don't get it.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to think it's just a marketing ploy.
It sounds like it.
It really
Sounds like
really
it.
just sounds like, you know who
Yeah.
else had a red roof?
Super 8.
Pizza Hut.
They did have a red roof.
Back
Yeah.
remember that?
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. Yeah.
The Tiffany lamps and
Yeah,
the dark and the
fanciness.
wood, and you could smell the musty pizza.
Smell it.
That
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah. Love that place.
We will also be at the Expedite Expo in July 21st to the 22nd. We'll be at the Expedite Expo Crossroads of America Truck Show in Fort Wayne, Indiana, at the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum.
Long name.
They really need to adjust that. We'll be at the Fort Wayne Convention Center, y'all.
Exactly.
And that's going to be a fun one. We're going to have our own booth. Booth 413 is going to be the Hyfield trucking booth. It's going to be a lot of fun. We always make it like kind of a lounge hangout area. We're going to have be sponsoring casino night and the after party on Friday night, and then on Saturday morning, I think Friday morning as well, they're going to have a bunch of like breakout sessions.
Yes.
We haven't really talked about that, but breakout sessions. We're going to have our friends from Millennials and Trucking there doing a conversation about what it's like to be a young person in the world of trucking, and there's how to be a fleet owner, all that stuff. It's a really good show. You'll learn a lot, and we look forward to seeing you there. Parking is $16 per night, but if you get there the first night and you don't leave, they usually don't charge you for the second night. So it is a lot of fun. We really hope to see you there. I say all that to say, we had a lot of fun this past weekend.
We had a lot of fun this past weekend. It
Hey.
was a good time in the cold.
It was so much cold.
So
Fun,
much
fun,
cold.
so much cold.
Fun.
So for St. Patty's Day, St. Patrick's Day, as you can tell, I am very pro St. Patrick's Day, being an Irish guy named Patrick. It just seems to make sense. I love that I get 2 days a year. Most people only get one. I get two, my birthday and St. Patty's Day. And so Eric found that London. Eric found that Dublin was having a St. Patrick's Day pub crawl.
Yes.
Pub crawl.
Yes.
And if you you get a passport, and you go to all these different places. You could buy a drink, or you could buy food, and any kind of drink. It didn't have to be alcoholic. They had 0 proof cocktails. They had Cokes and water and other stuff we didn't get. And they would stamp your little passport, and then you would turn it in at the end of the day, and you'd be put in for a drawing and a nice package for the Irish Festival, which happens in August. So we went and did that. It was 24 degrees outside.
But you couldn't tell because the wind chill was 14 degrees outside.
Yes.
In the afternoon.
In the afternoon.
Yeah.
It was so cold. It wasn't a pub crawl. It was a pub freeze.
It was.
It was so cold. We had a lot of fun. Went to a few places that we like to hang out at. There's like obviously y'all know I'm an aviation nerd. There's a lounge there that it feels like a airport.
It does.
Lounge.
Airport lounge. The Gateway.
The Gateway. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's our getaway.
I always get confused. I'm sorry.
Well, you're thinking Gateway, Dell, Apple.
Right.
This
Yeah.
is Getaway.
Moo.
So this, they used to put the spots on the box.
Yes.
when
The
it
spots
should have
are
been.
on the box.
It's crazy.
Yes.
Anyways, so the Getaway. We go there, hang out, have a couple cocktails. We got there just in time. It was our first place we went to. Let's go to Tried and True, and we go there first. We get our like a Irish coffee thing, and then we sit down. And as we're sitting there, just chatting amongst each other, a freaking line,
Yeah.
like
the line just
80 people long,
Yeah.
just kept coming. And it was like, oh man, this might be a
just in
situation.
time.
So we got there just in time. And then when we were done with that, we put on our heavy coats and turned on our heaters. And that was only you.
Oh, only me.
And
I
we
was the smart one.
hello. No, we're gonna 1 second. I asked, should I wear my thermals?
You did.
And you said,
No, because we won't be outside for that long. We're going to walk from place to place and be inside.
oh man.
Well, who knew the place Eric wanted to start was going to be a half mile from everywhere else? And then the next place would be a half mile from everywhere else.
And the next place would be closed
Right, exactly.
because there's nothing like sponsoring a pub crawl and then not
opening.
being open.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
that was good.
So
That was good.
we went to with the next place, which was a place I've been to before, North High Brewing here in Columbus. It's also a little place if you get a chance. They have a pimento cheese appetizer. It's a pimento cheese dip with crackers. It will change your life. It is so good. We didn't get it, but it was packed. It was so packed we had to actually stand outside. And again, I want to reiterate, cold. So, but they actually had their fire pits going.
The nice thing was it was that outside area was between the buildings and it kind of blocked the wind. So even though
it was like a courtyard.
it was a courtyard, yeah. So it was cold, but the fire helped.
The fire was nice, actually. We were there for a while. That could be the longest place that we stood in one spot.
Yeah, it was
chatting
definitely.
with other people were there. It was funny because it was so cold. We were all kind of bonding.
We were
which was fun.
body heat.
Yep. I'm gonna leave that one alone. So, anyways, so we hung out there. We had a blast. And then again, the next place was closed. And then we ended up going to a couple new places that we'd never been to before. One was a wine bar. One was a
dive bar.
Good
old fashioned dive bar.
Yeah, good old fashioned. They had foosball.
They had foosball. They had a menu, a cocktail menu, that everything on that menu was mixed with Miller High Life.
Yes. The champagne.
The champagne of beers. Yes, sir.
It was like 12 drinks, too.
It was. It really was.
They're kind of lazy. One of them was Tabasco sauce and Miller Lite. And I'm like,
it wasn't even Tabasco sauce, which would have been acceptable. It was Frank's Red Hot and Miller Lite.
Hold on.
Miller High Life.
You don't like Frank's Red Hot?
I think that Frank's Red Hot is a step down from Tabasco when it comes to, well, again, if you're going
Okay.
If you're going with Miller High Life, I think that you're right. Frank's Red Hot is the
appropriate.
appropriate for Miller High Life. Yeah. Yeah. If you're doing a low and brow, maybe you might go with a little higher end, at least in name.
Yeah.
Hot sauce, but yeah, Miller High Life.
Tabasco sauce is more better. That's
Mo better.
Mo better. Tabasco sauce would be more appropriate with like a Stella Artois,
Yes,
perhaps, or,
yes, exactly.
or a Heineken.
Heineken.
But so then we where do we go from there? We the other side. Went to the other side of the river. Went to a couple other places. Ended up having a nice steak dinner.
Yes.
That was really fun. There's a steakhouse in Columbus that we really, really love, and it's within walking distance. So we went there, and there's a couple waiters there that we really, really like. One of them happened to be the one we got that night, and
good dude.
I don't think he was supposed to be our waiter, by the way.
You don't.
I don't. I actually when I left to powder my nose, and when I came back, he caught eyes with me, and I saw him go over and tap someone and point at our table.
Interesting.
And I think he grabbed us.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because he had the table
on the other side of the divider.
Those two tables.
I don't think
but the one behind us on our same side, different server.
Yeah, I don't think we were in his section. I think he was like, "Hey, those are mine."
I'm glad he took care of us.
I am too. It was so much fun.
It was a lot of fun.
He's great.
He's professional. He knows his stuff.
Yes.
There's nothing better than a professional waiter. And by that, I mean one that knows the menu,
Yes.
knows the wines, knows the cocktails. He understands the food he's serving you. He's not just taking an order and going back, and he cares about his people.
Absolutely. And we've eaten there quite a few times with him, to the point now that, like the special they had, he was like, told us what the special was, and then told me like, I'm not gonna like it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's cool.
He knows what you like.
He knows the kind
Yeah.
of steak I like, and he's like, yeah, that's
for
not
you.
the one for you.
Yep.
But it was a lot of fun. Eric ended up getting a trout, which I'm not used to seeing trout at a steakhouse. It was fried.
Pecan crusted.
It was pecan crusted, but
I've seen those at
pan
Costco.
fried, right?
Though. Yeah, it was pan fried.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen those. They have the samples at Costco.
Yeah.
I've seen the pecan crusted
pecan crusted
trout
at
Costco.
yes, and
That was a joke that just fell apart all over me.
just like
I feel like the pecan crusting's all over me.
brush your shoulder off. So hold on, I think I can do. Let me see. All right, we tried. So I'm completely. What are we talking about again?
We were talking about dinner over at the steakhouse,
Yeah.
and how you don't see trout on the menu at steakhouses
No.
very often.
No.
Salmon all the time. Trout,
All the time
not so
salmon.
much.
And I think the consensus was they need to go back to salmon, right? Yeah. Trout. We'll save trout for South Louisiana or
There you
for
go.
Oregon or something.
Yeah.
But the rest of the meal was excellent.
It really was.
Oh man, did you get the shrimp Dijon?
I had a couple of them. That stuff's amazing.
It was so good.
That stuff's amazing.
Speaking of, can we Uber Eats there? Anyways, so no, it ended up being a great night. Got back home safely. Melissa played our DD for us.
She did.
And thank you, Melissa. And it was really a wonderful weekend. It was probably the first St. Patty's Day I've celebrated in a while. We're always on business trips, and this was it was a lot of fun. It was a really good time. I enjoyed y'all's company. Freaking cold.
But
Way too cold.
When we left the steakhouse to walk back to the car, it was like 15 degrees with the wind chill of 7.
Yes.
And we had to walk out in the great wide open across the bridge, across the river, and felt every single degree of 7 degrees.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just the heat. The wind was taking the heat away from your toenails.
It really was.
You know that feeling of like your toenails are starting to get cold?
Looks like Melissa's reliving it over there. She's bundling up. She had an extra blanket out.
And then Sunday I didn't do anything Sunday. Did you do anything? Nothing.
Sunday we cleaned house.
Oh, nice.
And went grocery shopping.
Yeah.
And when we were done with that, it was, I don't know, whatever time it was, we didn't do anything. We stopped. We got everything put away and just shut down.
Yeah. It's a good feeling.
It is a good feeling. Have it all clean. Yeah, it was a good feeling.
Yep. No, it was a great time. I appreciated it. A few days ago, by a few days ago, I mean a couple weeks ago, I had on the show a little tiny airplane from Northwest Airlines, and I explained to y'all that was my very first airplane I ever flew,
Yeah.
ever.
That was a fun story.
It was. Today, I have the number 2 airplane I ever flew ever. So, and I didn't even know I had this. That's when you have too many model airplanes, when you forget you have one. This is a DC-9. I'm sure everyone listening to this has been like, yep, I've been on DC-9. It's such a common plane that people used to fly back in the day. This was a Northwest Airlines. We flew this. So we flew that little airplane, the Avrojet, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana to Memphis. This plane we flew from Memphis to Jacksonville, Florida, and Jacksonville, Florida back to Memphis. And I remember being so confused by it when I walked on and saw there was 3 seats to the left and 2 to the right. And I'm like, why is there an odd number of seats?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And, but nope, that's a DC-9 for you. So
Are you going to explain to us why?
it's a narrow cabin.
Oh, it's a narrow cabin. Okay. All right.
I don't know why. That was their design.
Okay.
I tell you why people like it.
Tell us, Patrick.
Because if you are a couple of people traveling together, romantically involved or not, the 2 seats to the right are nice because it's like you got a window seat and aisle seat.
Okay.
You don't have
still have to sit next to each other and
You
communicate.
sit next to each other, you communicate, you don't have to worry about that middle spot,
Right.
whatever. The other half of the airplane is a window seat, aisle seat. I'm sorry, window seat, middle seat, aisle seat, which is great for families.
Sure.
Because then you can put, the mom, kid, dad, or however
Right.
you want to have it set up, and kind of have your own little space there as well. So it's wildly popular.
So if the 3 of us are traveling together, we put Jerry in the middle, you in the window, I'll take the aisle.
Not exactly.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Wow, that was an angry look from Jerry.
yeah.
Nobody puts Jerry in the corner.
I was just saying.
I'd probably be. It's not important what Reed said.
It does.
But this airplane, I like the story of the DC-9. DC-9 Douglas Corporation, their 9th model, DC-9. It's a jet. It's very popular. It's got the 2 jet engines on the back of the airplane. Big T-tail. It's a long plane, and they made a few different variations of it, so some are longer than others. This airplane, thousands and thousands and thousands of them. Of the thousands they made, several crashed and killed everybody on board. But
It happens.
but it happens. Again, Swift. You got enough out there. It's going to happen. So
We're playing the odds.
exactly, I like using them as an example of airplane growth. This airplane got new engines and got a redesigned rear end of the fuselage, and they called it the McDonnell Douglas 80, MD-80.
MD-80.
And so that's the newer version of it. And that airplane had less than 100 fatal accidents,
Okay.
so it's better.
Didn't Southwest fly the MD-80 exclusively for a long time? It was a different plane.
No, Southwest always been 737. AirTran and ValueJet. Remember that ValueJet?
I do remember ValueJet.
This would be that would be the airplane ValueJet parked in the Everglades. And
Let's just set this right here.
yeah. So MD-88, it's 80. It's the newer model. American Airlines flew the MD-82. Delta flew the MD-88. They're all MD-80s. They just
Okay.
different names.
versions.
That's when people really started calling these Mad Dogs. You've ever heard these airplanes called Mad Dogs?
Sure.
That's the ones they got the name from. Then they came out with new engines, more efficient engines. They called it the MD-90. And that airplane literally was like 5 or 6 airplanes crashed. Outside of that, they're fine. They came out with a new airplane called the MD-95. Again, same plane, just newer electronics and newer engines. Right when they were coming out with that, Boeing bought McDonnell Douglas. And so Boeing changed the name to the 717. And that is the last variation of this airplane you can fly. You can still fly them. Hawaiian Airlines, Qantas, and Delta fly these.
So they're long haul jets.
No, these are real short jets.
It's funny because
Qantas.
Hawaiian Airlines.
Yeah. So Hawaiian and Qantas, they fly these like locally.
Oh, inter island.
Yeah, inter island stuff.
Okay.
So the 717s have had 0 fatal accidents.
Wow.
That's just aviation and airplanes like getting modern,
yeah.
and better. So you went from an airplane that had 100 fatal accidents to
Right.
one that had less
0.
than 100 to all the way down to 0.
Wow.
So it's cool to be able to track one airframe because it's basically the same airplane.
Sure.
There's not a lot that's changed. You would not, if you went and sat on DC-9 from 1962 and then you went and flew a 717 that they built in 1999, you wouldn't know the
You
difference.
wouldn't know the difference, but the pilots would.
But yeah, the pilots would know from the electronics. Obviously, you'd be burning a lot less jet fuel. But you'd be on a plane that's never had a fatal crash.
Wow.
Like that's an incredible
That's
journey.
a great track record for that plane.
It really is. There's only a few out there that have that track record. There's not many. Boeing screwed that up with a 737 Max right out of the gate. That's not funny. We shouldn't laugh about
We
that.
shouldn't laugh at that.
But yeah, that's the plane of the day. Second airplane I ever flew.
And that's got the stairs out the butt, right?
It has the stairs out the back. Yes, I was going to add that to you.
I mean, that's what I
earlier.
meant, out the back.
Yeah, the back.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Well, thanks for sharing that plane with us, Patrick. You'll put a picture of that on the Facebook page.
I will.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where else
And-
will you put it? Instagram?
I'll put it on Instagram. I'll
Yeah.
put it on Facebook. And by I mean I'll send a picture to Jerry. Jerry will put it on Facebook and Instagram because he's the producer.
He is a producer.
Jerry, been meaning to ask, what does a producer do? For the people out there, they're like, we hear you introduce Jerry Bear as your producer every week, and we don't really know what that is.
Basically, I just take care of all the behind the scenes stuff. So everything social media wise, editing this podcast, taking all the bad stuff out.
Bad stuff.
And which is never any of that.
It's never- oh, so there's hardly
that makes
any
his
editing you
job
have to do.
easier.
All
he
right.
just he just flipped me the bird.
Okay. Well,
I did.
all right. So, Eric, what we have here. So, Eric, he does the editing of the podcast, and he does the whatever else he just said.
He's also switching cameras live too.
You are switching cameras live.
Yes.
I had someone comment on that the other day that said, "Do you think if Jerry wasn't so busy, he would talk more?"
No.
Maybe. It's not that I'm busy. I'm just focused. I'm paying attention to
You're
this.
in the zone.
He's in the zone. He's working on producing a quality show from the crap that we give him.
Okay. That's got to be tough.
I know it is. I know it is.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate what you do.
Thank you,
make
Jerry.
us. You make us sparkle. You make us shine. I do want to put a selfish.
Selfless.
No, not selfless. Definitely selfish.
Okay.
I want to put a selfish plea out there for
Selfish.
all my Hyfield family listeners. Please like and subscribe our channel.
Please.
Please comment on our videos. We are an upstart. We're trying to push this out to a broader market. People may not realize that the YouTube what's it called, Jerry?
Algorithm.
Algorithm rewards videos that have interaction, which is comments, likes, dislikes, thumbs down helps. Anything like that helps.
Yeah.
And promotes it to a larger group of people. If you watch the video, that's great. Watching matters. Watch time matters. So the longer it's playing, the better it is for the algorithm.
It is.
But it's not as much as if you watched it and then you actually put a comment and hit that thumbs up. Then, I was going to say Google, that's not right. YouTube goes, whoa, something's really up. And then
You were right.
they throw it up there.
Google.
It is Google, yeah. And they say, like, okay, we need to promote this to more people. It's exciting. And so, my Hyfield family, if you're listening to us, we would really appreciate it if you would just throw anything up there, comment on us, talk about how silly we are, tell us what you hate about our episodes, tell us what you love about our episodes, talk about how we completely butchered the US Xpress thing. Just anything you can do like that. Really appreciate it. It helped get this podcast out to a larger audience, and we definitely want people to hear what we have to say because we are the... That's not important. So, but it would really mean the world to us.
It
We
really would.
appreciate everything y'all do. If you have anything you'd like us to talk about, by all means, throw it in a comment on the video. we read those. We obsess over those. When we don't get them, we ask ourselves what we've done wrong in life. If you have something that you want us to talk about that you don't want to put down in the comments, you can always email us at theouterbeltpodcast@gmail.com. That is theouterbeltpodcast@gmail.com. We read those comments as well, and sometimes we just email you back, and sometimes we bring it back on the show for fodder to talk about. We appreciate that. We are desperately seeking your attention and your approval, and we just want everybody to hear kind of what we are all about over here at Hyfield. And this is a great media way to kind of represent ourselves to everybody who's interested in what we do. So anyways, we appreciate your help with that. Jerry, you good?
I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks for being there for us. Appreciate it.
Everybody, y'all stay safe. Make good decisions.
Don't leave money on the table.
And keep those wheels a turning.